Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Shdy J, your resident troublemaker and your resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing well on this Wednesday. It is hump day. We have made it to the middle of the week, and now it shall be just an easy coast into the weekend. Or at least that's what we hope, right? All right, so let's get right into it. I came across this article, found it very interesting, and then I fact-checked the shit out of it. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. All right, and this is coming to us from the folks over at CBR.com. This is coming to us from Blake Hawkins, of all people. And it says, Gandalf and Saruman were in Middle-earth long before they were Lord of the Rings wizards. Gandalf and Saruman were powerful wizards in the Lord of the Rings, but ages prior, they were two of the 5 guardians assigned to protect elves. The Lord of the Rings was all about Frodo and his quest to destroy Sauron's One Ring. However, the most important character in the story was Gandalf. He refused to take the ring for himself in the Fellowship of the Rings, and without Gandalf's wisdom, leadership, and sacrifice, the Fellowship would have been doomed many times over. Not to mention, Gandalf was much more than met the eye. He was an Istari with incredible powers, though he rarely used them. Gandalf was not the only Istari. He, Saruman, Radagast, Alatar, and Palando were sent to Middle-earth to oppose the designs of Sauron, but they were not allowed to use their Maoric power in a direct contest. Instead, the 5 Istari were supposed to rally the people of Middle-earth, so they walked Middle-earth and appeared as aging wizards. Yet, there was a time when the Istari walked Middle-earth in their true forms. The Valar Orome discovered the elves in Middle-earth. Before the Istari... I hate these ad crap. Okay. Before the start of time, elves awoke in the far east of Middle-earth, near the waters of Cuiviénen. They were the firstborn of Iluvatar and immortal beings. Eventually, Orome found them on one of his adventures and began to call them the Eldar, quote, people of the stars. After spending some time with them, he returned to Valinor and informed Manwë of his discovery. Shortly thereafter, the Valar decided that action needed to be taken against Morgoth. After all, the Dark Lord had already taken and twisted elves into orcs. That's kind of the abridged version, but, I'm not going to split hairs right now. So the Valar decided to take action against Morgoth and began the war for the sake of the elves. However, there was a problem. With Orome and Tulkas, who had also spent time with the Eldar, slated to join the fight, the elves needed someone else to protect them. So the Valar sent a fivesome of Maiar to hold down the fort. The Istari were originally the 5 Guardians. The 5 Guardians were Torondor, later Saruman, Olorin, later Gandalf, Hravendil, later Radagast, Palisendo, and Hymenar. They were led by Melian, who went on to marry King Thingol. Yes, that Melian. Because she had already been to Cuiviénen. It's unclear how long the Guardians remained with the elves. They may have stayed for the Great Journey, or they might have left after Morgoth was defeated, bound, and taken from Middle-earth. Regardless, it's probable that the 5 Guardians would have taken their Maoric forms rather than their latter wizardly disguises so that they could defend the elves against assailants. It's worth noting that the names mentioned above don't match all the Istari's names. Originally, the Blue Wizards were named Alatar and Palando, and later in his life, Tolkien changed their names to Morinitar and Romastamo. However, they were never referred to as Palisando and Hymenar. The factoid and names of the five guardians are recorded in the Nature of Middle-earth book, a compilation of Tolkien's minor writings edited by Carl F. Hostetter. Regarding the name discrepancies, Hostetter commented that the five guardians appear to be the same as the Istari of the Third Age, yet it was impossible to know for certain if Tolkien had again renamed the Blue Wizards or if they were supposed to be different figures. Whether they were the same figures or not, Saruman, Gandalf, and Radagast were definitely the same, meaning they had experience in Middle-earth long before the Third Age. All right, so I read this article, and I was curious because I'm like, that's interesting. And since I happen to have the book in question, right, I looked it up, right? I did some research, right, which is not hard to do. I'm talking to you like, Screen Rant and, Blake Hawkins and, others. But anyway, yeah, it's right here on page 95. Page 95, they list it. I'm just going to pop this off for a second. All right, there you go. Yeah, page 95, they have all the names here. Yeah, it's listed in the section where Tolkien was making some changes and adjustments to the Valayan is, I guess, how it's referred to, years. He goes through and he's sort of listed, and they're mentioning changes that he makes in the timeline, and he does in fact mention these five guardians, and it seems that they were there primarily, and I don't know if this came through much in the article, but they were there primarily while Orome and Tolkas were sort of called back to have these planning sessions with the Valar were having planning sessions for the upcoming fight against Morgoth. And so, in their absence, it was deemed necessary to send the five, although actually six, guardians to protect the elves from Morgoth and his minions at that time. And it's and they do mention, and you do see, Tolkien you had recurring names. Saruman ends up being there, although with a different name. Gandalf's name is the same as what the name that he would have later on. Radagast is there, and you even have Melian there. So interesting bit of information. Like I said, I can confirm it. It's in the Nature of Middle-earth. It's on pages 95, and then they actually give you the meaning of what some of their names means. It means like far-sighted one, wild beast friend. That's the one that he initially gave for Radagast. I'm just trying to look it up here. Yes. Yes, it is Hryvendil, which they say means wild beast friend. They mentioned what the Palisando and Hymenar mean. One means far fairer. That's Hymenar means far fairer. Palisando means far sighted. Wild beast friend is what Hryvendil means, and Olorin I think means high-minded and wise, and I think or that's what Tarandor, which later became Saruman, means. So yeah, interesting bit of information. I thought it was kind of cool. I will acknowledge Blake pulled an ace out of the sleeve there. It's got the information correct, and there's they're not trying to spin it in any way. It is an interesting fact. Obviously, it's not something that Tolkien spent a lot of time on, but it is in there, and you can see that it is laid out in the Valayan years timeline. In the Nature of Middle-earth, pages 95, and the definitions for the names are on page 102. So that section right there, from page 94 through 102, that's where it's covering all this. So interesting stuff that they were there initially as the five guardians. I would probably say that no, once the situation was resolved with Morgoth and it was safe for the elves, that the guardians wouldn't have stuck around because they wouldn't have been needed. Maiar aren't, they're not going to waste any time. They're not going to sit around doing nothing, right? Anyway, yeah, a little bit of interesting information there. So I hope you found that as interesting as I did. And if you have the book, The Nature of Middle Earth, now I'm curious to see what other little, interesting facts can be dug up from going through those pages. It is a hard read because it's very clinical. It's like literally going through somebody's notes on something, because that's literally what that book is. But it's interesting to see what other little nuggets of information might be tucked away in there, in the middle of some page that nobody's looked at before. And suddenly, you see articles about it as if it's like a grand revelation. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you like the video, then like the video. If you feel like sharing the video, by all means do so. It gets us seen by more people. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. We're trying to grow this thing, and it would help us immensely. Also, if you have not subscribed, I would hope that you would consider subscribing and turning the red subscribe button gray. We could always use more members of the army of beautiful badasses as we stand strong for the professor and his works and high fantasy and all the fantasy worlds and places that either growing up or now as adults we escape to, just to get away from the mundane reality of reality, right? So so hopefully you will consider subscribing and you will join us as we fight the good fight. And as always, if you are a returning subscriber, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, don't forget to join us over on the Discord. The link will be down in the description below. And don't forget, we got merch. I'm rocking my merch today. I'm rocking my, Melkor says "Stay More Dorkish" shirt. So this is available. This shirt is available on the merch store. It's good. It's high quality. I'm digging the shirt. I'm digging the quality and everything. So, as well as you can see, I've got the other one, the other "Stay More Dorkish" also. That's also available in the merch store. That's the Sauroth character. So anyway, because you can't violate copyright. Anyway, as always, thank you everybody who's checking out the videos and subscribed. And until the next one, I will see you then. And remember, as always, be good, be safe, be awesome. But more importantly, hit your microphone and knock yourself in the face. More importantly, stay more dorkish. Until the next one. Peace.